When we were considering who could open the conference and who would do it differently, the first name that came to mind was Merete Holm Brantbjerg. Merete specializes in working with stress and trauma and has developed a resource-oriented skills training and developed it into a body psychotherapy. And she's now developed the workshops and training programs in Vancouver, Scandinavia, and London. She was also a member of the group that created the bodynamic analysis system in Denmark. And I'm delighted that Merete agreed to open the Congress with an experiential presentation. And I'm really looking forward to this. So, Merete.
So is the sound on? God, it's on. Since I'm going to do this experientially, I'm not going to stand there, I'm going to stand here. As Diane said, I was asked to do an experiential presentation to be part of opening this conference. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm not going to give you a lot of my thinking. I'm inviting you to explore what it means to transition into a context like this. The process we are right in the middle of right now. But up to now, we have mostly done it by listening to one person talking. Where what I am inviting now is a process that is more mutual, where you and I together can explore the challenge it actually is to get ourselves across the boundary into this kind of room. Because that process doesn't just happen by itself, or you could say it does, but if we leave it to that it just happens as we do it, we will all do it in our habitual roles. And the chance I have right now is to invite you to slow the process a little down so that we take the time to be curious about what does it actually mean to transition into a conference. Yeah. So this context has two sides. There's an external context and there's an internal context. And if I start with orienting to the external context, this is a conference that is dealing with body psychotherapy. It's also a conference that has a specific goal, which is to go beyond the individual. It says in the conference flyer, it says that we want to go beyond the individual and deal with not only one body, but deal with two bodies together, or a whole room full of bodies, or a whole world full of bodies. And it happens to be like this, that we are right now a room full of bodies. That's the context we are in. So the first thing I ask you to is to orient to the room from that place. Look around and see that we're sitting here, and I know it's a challenge because you're all sitting on lines, which means that it's easier to see me than to see the group. But I actually ask you to turn around and see this room full of bodies. And while you have turned around, I ask you also to see the room we're actually in a specific room that impacts us in different ways. It has a height, it has a size. So just take in those two parts of reality right now, which is that we are in this specific room and that there's a lot of bodies here. And just check out what happened by just taking in that reality. Okay. Now, in a room full of bodies, there will be a lot of similarities and there will be a lot of differences. The previous speaker, just addressed all the polarities you invited us to explore during the conference. And I mean, polarities are always present in a group of people. So I'll invite you to start with the similarities. One of the big similarities, one thing is that we all have a body. That's a very simple one. Another obvious similarity here is that we all chose to come. We sit here out of free will, sit or stand, which means that we all have some interest in body psychotherapy. That's the big similarity that gathers us all. So again, I ask you to just take in that similarity, just taste it right now. Maybe look around or sense it in yourselves. But just sense that we're in this room with that similarity. That something matters enough to us that we have actually all chosen to be here. And just take this moment to notice what does that do in your body to orient from that similarity. Okay. Personally, I sense that I get quieter when I do that. Something is quieting down, and also something gets broader in me. I get less focused, but I sense the broadness of the whole field. Then it's also a reality that there are lots of differences represented here. And I'll just name some of them and you can add. We come from different countries. There are a lot of different languages represented here. I don't speak my native language right now, which you can probably hear in my accent. There are many different traditions in our professional field represented. And with that, there are also a lot of we have different experience. Some may come here very new in this field. Some may come here mostly out of curiosity, maybe coming from other fields. Others have been here for a number of years, and others have been here for many, many years. So there's a range of experience in the room. And with that, there's also a range of different roles. There are a lot of different roles, also amongst us. Trainers and students, maybe clients and therapists, supervisors, supervisees, etc. So there will be people you know, there will be people you don't know, there will be some you feel close to, some you feel distant from. And you can add on that list yourselves. What I ask you to do now is to either just sense it in yourselves or literally look around and orient from that place. Just see the complexity in this field. All the differences, within the similarity. And just notice if it's different to orient to the differences than it was to the similarities. And you would be very, very normal if it is. Differences challenge us. Differences are challenging, more challenging for most groups, in most groups of people than the similarities are. Did you notice a difference? Yeah. So, one of the things I have noticed is that differences, they tend to invite our habitual solutions. Right? And habitual solutions is for some of us to go a little one down, kind of to not think too highly of ourselves. And a conference like this could invite that easily. We step into this, we need to do a lot of fast choices out there, orient ourselves to a complex context. And some of us will have a habitual tendency to get overwhelmed or put ourselves down in that. And others of us will have a habitual solution, which is, I'm on top of this, right? Get a little tough inside and stay one up. And this is normal. We all do it. We can't deny or change or remove that part of our psychology. It's there, it will be there in all groups. But it's not all of us. It's one part of us. It's one part of the relational field. We also have another possibility, which has a freer choice in it. So the question for me is, how do we access that freer choice? And I think that's where body awareness can offer something that may shift between those two ways of relating. And that's why I'm going to guide you into some body awareness right now. It's to get a sense of getting a little freer choice in where is it I step into this conference from? Do I do it from my habitual roles, or do I do it from a freer choice where I have access to more parts of me? Also the parts that I typically would leave behind. We all do that. We leave parts of us behind when we step into a context. So, I ask you to shift your attention to your body. And notice how you're sitting on your chair. How are you doing on your chair? I haven't tried, well, I actually have tried to sit on them. They are not too bad, these chairs, but it's always a negotiation between a body and a chair. So please step into that negotiation. How can you optimize your own awareness on your chair? What possibilities are there? Can you sit a little differently? Can you shift your weight? Can you shift how you get support from the back? Small adjustments, but they may make a difference to what parts of your body you have access to. And then I ask you to just notice, did that make a difference? Just to make those small adjustments. Did that make any difference to how you are in contact with yourself right now? And this is the time where I'm always used to, when I teach, I get answers back. I'm not going to ask you to say it because it doesn't work in this. I just notice I'm kind of waiting for an answer from you. Yeah. The next question I'm asking you is the ways we keep parts of ourselves out of a context. We can do that in two different ways. One of them is that we can tense up different places in the body. So I ask you to track, where are you tense in your body right now? Typical places, just track it first in yourselves. Where are the tensions right now? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your backs? Is it in your legs? Is it in your hands, your jaws? Where are they? And they will be there in all of us. I have a constant negotiation with my right shoulder. Yeah. So how many of you discovered tension in shoulders? And just hands up. Okay. How many of you discovered tension in your backs? Okay, another subgroup. Yeah. And how many of you discovered tension around your breathing? Diaphragm, stomach. Yeah. Okay. And please include yourselves with the other places. There could be a lot of other versions. Okay. Now, what could we do with this reality that there is tension in the body? Well, we could gently invite some letting go. So what I'm asking you to now is to allow your body to drop down into the chair. Sense your feet on the floor. And check out what it feels like to just, in a way, drop down into your feet, contact with the ground, the floor, and also down into your sitting bones. For some of you, it may work to do just small movements on your sitting bones, small circular movements, to just get you down there. Yeah, and some of you will get a natural yawn from that, which is one sign that a regulation happens in the nervous system, that we come from some sort of sympathetic activation into more rest. So just check out what this feels like for you. Are there parts of you that became present by dropping down like this? Parts of you that hadn't arrived yet? Okay. Yeah. I noticed that my breathing got easier. I also noticed that my whole speed went down. Okay. Now, there is another way that is less frequently addressed, which is that we also leave parts of ourselves behind by going into low energy states, by going flaccid in parts of the body, by going distant, by losing energy, which is a very different strategy than going tense. They serve the same purpose. We can kind of not sense parts of ourselves by doing it. But right now I ask you to do the more unusual thing, which is to ask yourselves, well, which parts of your body haven't quite arrived? Which parts of your body are not quite filled out? Or which parts of your body have lower energy than other parts? And a way to make it easier is to compare. I have more energy on my outside and a little less on my inside muscles. Some of you may track more energy on the backside and not so much on the front. or vice versa. Or more energy up in the body and not so present down. So just see if you can find your curiosity to track that. And also notice that this is a different process. For many of us, it might be a little more, what to call that? For some, it would be a little more intimate, or a little more shy, a little more introvert, to actually track what is missing. Tension has energy, has over-energy. What I'm talking about now is the under-energized parts of us. And they are there. Please normalize it. We all have them. And they solve something for us. How many of you joined me in that there was less energy on the inside than on the outside? How many are in that club? Inside muscles. Okay, so we are some of us there. Yeah. Who of you discovered less energy around your stomach or front side? Yeah. Some are there. And who discovered less energy in your support in your back? Some will be there. Yeah. And please include other parts if you tracked other parts. Now, what can we do about those parts of us? They need something different. It doesn't work for those parts of us to let go. We don't optimize presence in low energized areas by releasing tension. So what I'm inviting you to do now is a gentle way of building energy up. And in respect of time, we're not going to be able to do it in all the areas of the body. So I have chosen 3 places to work with. And the first one is your core. So what I ask you to do is to do a cross movement where your right shoulder goes towards your left hip, right? Which means that you rotate in your lumbar spine. You go there, and then you do the opposite, you go there. So see if you can just find that cross movement. And also start sensing that that means that you rotate your spine down here. So rotation happening there. If it's easier for you to get it that way, you can lift your knee, right? Okay. And then having done, now we did the movement kind of in a normal size. What I ask you to do now is to do it smaller. So I ask you to experiment with getting down to doing this smaller. And even smaller. So you get down to the point where you can listen to really small movements. You may even go all the way down to almost just thinking the movement, but still do it. And just check out what that does in your center area. And then I ask you to do a different thing. I ask you to put your fingertips to each other. Do it in a way where your shoulders can relax. And then very gently, push your fingertips into each other. Do it in a way where it's not hard work. Do it in a way where you can breathe while you do it. And you can shift between doing the push and letting go of it again. Find your own rhythm in it. The parts of your body that objectively gets activated by this is the whole front side of your body, which means that something gathers on the front side when you do this. Some of you may like to do it with a little more physical strength in it. But my reason for choosing to guide you into the very small dosage is that that's a way to include those parts of us that give up, that go distant. We want to include them, do something small. Okay. And please allow yourself to have your preferences. Maybe for some of you, you like the centering one best, and this one doesn't work, then let it go. Or vice versa. And I'll give you a third one, which involves the support muscles in your back, which is to just gently move your elbows backwards. If you have, can the elbows find the back of the chair? I don't know if that's possible in these chairs. Is it? If not, just do the movement. And again, find the very gentle version. So it's not hard work. It's doing it in a way where you can breathe. But find your version of bringing energy into your back. And check out what that feels like. And with that, also allow your preferences. For some of you, it may be a relief to get the back instead of the front side. Where for others, it may be some sort of relief to get your front side gathered, where the back side doesn't matter the same way. Yeah. Okay. Now we did two very different processes with the body. The first one was about releasing tension. And the second one was about building energy up. So what I ask you to do now is to notice, all in all, what did that do? What is different now than before we did those two things? What is different in your perception of yourself? And what is different when you orient to the room? And again, this is where I have all my curiosity about what's going on in you, where the source of information I can express is the shift that happened in me. More present. Yeah, thank you. What I notice in myself is that when I include both of these parts, when I don't settle with releasing my tension, but I also include this subtle process of normalizing and paying attention to the parts of me that have the lowest energy. When I do that, it's way easier for me to not step into my habitual roles. It's like the air goes out of them. For example, right now in this moment, I'm no longer scared of standing here. My arousal level went way down with what we just did. And with that, it becomes much easier to not go either into, oh my God, I'm not doing this good enough, or I'm gonna show you, right? And I could go both ways. I have both inside of me, right? Where when I include this quite fundamental polarity inside of me, that I both have parts that go tense, and I also have parts of me that give up. And together those patterns carry parts of me that I don't bring in openly. When I can normalize that and do simple exercises to modify it, then I get a freer choice. Right now, in this moment, I feel a freer choice in how I am in contact with you. So when I prepared this presentation, I thought, well, I have a lot of curiosity about what would happen in a conference like this if we started there. And also what would happen if we remember now and then to slow down enough to track these next 4 days, to track these reactions, because they will be there. That's for sure. There's lots of triggers in this kind of context that will invite us into tension and into giving up. But what if we choose to slow down, track it, and do something simple? And these patterns of tension and giving up, for me, they relate to something way more complex, which is the roles of dominance and submission, or the roles of going one up and one down. And these patterns are inside of us, and they are amongst us. Now, when I track both my tension and my giving up, when I include them both, I stop some of the tendency in me to allow them to polarize to each other inside of me. And that means that I will impact the context I'm in from a different place in me. Yeah. So I have that curiosity about this conference. I also have that curiosity about the whole world. You could say, what would happen if we took the time to include these two sides of an inner polarity, instead of letting them automatically play out against each other? Yeah. Now I managed to do this 4 minutes too short. So instead of pushing myself to doing more, I'll just say this was a pleasure.